Ashwatthana Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishtam Vishnupāda Shatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishtam Vishnupāda Shatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishtam Vishnupāda Shatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishtam Vishnupāda Shatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishta Śrīla Saccidānanda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Untitled Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Amuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Nityal Bhavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bharatī Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi Ki Jai. Nityal Bhavishta Saptam Gosvāmī Bhakti Bhagirati Śrīla Saccidānanda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Shri Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Shri Swaparshad Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. So that was a little bit of a, anyways, weird order. But Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Before I was planning on singing a bunch of songs by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura and reading articles by him and many different glorifications, but because I have a lot to do and it's late now, I'm just going to read this one article. But yeah, maybe another time we can do some kirtans to honor Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. That view. Dandavat Pranam Sakarkaraji. All right, so I'm reading from this website, vishudhachaitanyavani.com, vcvani.com if you ever want to visit it. Show reader. Saccidānanda Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. September 19th, 2021 is the appearance day of Saccidānanda Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura in Vrindavan, India. The following is an excerpt of a Bhav Anuvad of the Katha given by Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bharatī Gosvāmī Mahārāja on the appearance tithi of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura on September 2nd, 2009. Today is a very special tithi. It is the appearance day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, his birth and family background. From a material consideration, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was born on September 2nd, 1838 in Virnagar, Nadia district in a family of zamindars, landlords, and was given the name Kedarnath Datta. Swami Vivekananda was also born in the same dynasty as Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Interesting. I mean, that means the same gotra, right? Yeah. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's father was Ananda Chandra Datta, and his mother was Jagat Mohini Devi. His father left this world when Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was only 11. An ancestor of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Govinda Sharan Datta, was a very wealthy landlord, after whom the village Govindapur was named. Eventually, Govindapur combined with Sutanuti and Kaligata to form the present-day city of Kolkata. At Pretagaya, there is a mountain called Gandranath, which previously pilgrims had difficulty ascending. Govinda Sharan Datta made steps on this mountain as a service to the pilgrims, and to this day, there is a plaque with his name there. Wow, that's all new stuff. I've never heard that before. Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja knows every little detail, like every person's name in every single story and every little thing that they did. He's never missed anything. Childhood pastimes. As a child, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was very curious by nature. Once he approached a sculptor engaged in sculpting a deity and asked, "When will there be life in this deity?" Initially, the sculptor replied, "The deity will come alive when I paint his eyes." At the time of painting the eyes, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was there. Seeing the deity was still lifeless, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura inquired again. This time, the sculptor said, "Only when a Brahmin does pran pratishtha, a rite by which life is infused to the deity form to commence worship. Only then, when the Brahmin does pran pratishtha, then the deity will come alive." Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was not satisfied by such answers. So to witness the deity's coming to life, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was present during the pran pratishtha ceremony, but still saw that the deity was lifeless, and asked the Brahmin, "When will there be life in this deity?" At that time, both the sculptor and the Brahmin confessed that they had no faith and simply performed the pran pratishtha out of custom. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's marriage was arranged when he was just 12 years old. Wow! And his wife, Shayamani Devi, then 7. Oh my God! Śrīla Bhaktivinoda, I guess that was a custom back then also, wasn't it? Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura later referred to it as a play marriage. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura studied in a school in Birnagar. Wasn't his wife's name, what's her name? Bhuvana Mohini Devi? No, what was her name? God, I can't believe I forgot her name. Anyways. Later, he was transferred to another English school at Krishnanagar, and eventually he attended the university at Kolkata. Among his classmates was Satyendranath Thakur, the brother of Rabindranath Thakur. They were followers of the Brahma Samaj. Even though Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura would refute the conceptions of the Brahma Samaj, Satyendranath remained amicable, as he especially appreciated his ability to debate based on sound logical arguments, yukti. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura used to stay at the residence of his uncle, who was a theist of sorts. His uncle was a follower of Brahma Samaj. He did not believe in the existence of the Supreme as a separate individual entity, but attributed nature as being the Supreme. I'm having a hard time talking. Young Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura never opined? I think so. He never had the opinion in their debates. He never opined in their debates, and eventually discontinued their association. Whatever. His uncle had 2 brothers. Although they were initially in agreement with the conceptions of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, later they differed on their respective ideologies. They would even invite Baul, one of the Amprasapradayas, Baul singers, to sing kirtan in their house. However, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura never mixed with them. By doing so, he set an ideal. Later in his life, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura wrote, Vaishnava charitra sarvada pavitra je ninde himsa kori. Bhakti vinod na sambhashe tare thake sada monadhari. The character of the Vaishnava is always pure and holy. Bhaktivinoda promises that he will never speak to one who criticizes such a Vaishnava out of envy, but will remain silent whenever in his company. Taming impostors. Doesn't say in his company. Anyways, whatever. Taming impostors. After finishing his studies, he started teaching in schools in various places, including Bhadrak and Medinipur. Seeing Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's fluency in the English language and his intelligence, the British administrators were very appreciative of him. Eventually, the British government employed him in the administration department. At that time in Orissa, there was one yogi called Visakhishen. Visakhishen? Really? I thought his name was... anyways. Okay, yeah, Visakhishen, sorry. By his power, he would miraculously cure many terminal diseases, including leprosy, thus accruing much reverence among the general people. One day, he announced that on the 13th day of the month of Chaitra, he would assume a four-handed form and kill all the malechas. He also propagated that on Purnima, he would arrange for a Ras Leela dance by gathering all the girls and women. Hearing this, the dignified section of the society approached Ravan Shah, the then government commissioner, putting in a formal complaint requesting him to justly deal with the situation at hand. Ravan Shah handed over Visakhishen's case to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, saying, "Only you can deal with this case." Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura dressed in a civil outfit instead of a government uniform and went to Visakhishen's ashram in Bhubaneswar. Hearing that he had come to arrest him, Visakhishen warned Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura of dire consequences, but Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was not disturbed with such threats. He was soft like a lotus, but at the same time, hard as a thunderbolt, befitting the character of great personalities. Vajrad api kotorani mriduni kusumarapi lokottaranam chetangshi konu vigyatum ishvara. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, Lila 773. The hearts of those above common behavior are sometimes harder than a thunderbolt and sometimes softer than a flower. How can one accommodate such contradictions in personalities? In great personalities. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had Visakhishen arrested and sentenced to 1.5 months imprisonment. Visakhishen declared a fast until death and eventually perished during his term in prison. However, while there, by dint of his yogic powers, he cast many distresses upon Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. As a result, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura fell ill, and his son fell ill too. But he neglected all these obstacles, knowing them to be a manifestation of some temporary powers that Visakhishen possessed. For 21 days, Visakhishen fasted from even water and eventually left his body. In Jajpur, one person claimed himself to be an avatar. That's a really cool picture. I like his hat. And his jacket. That's so neat. Okay. In Jajpur, one person claimed himself to be an avatar of Brahma. And in Khurda, there was another gentleman who proclaimed himself to be an incarnation of Baladev. Like Visakhishen, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura also legally tamed them. Later, accompanied by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he went on many pilgrimages. He went to Kurukshetra, Prayag, Gaya, and also to Vrindavan. While in Vrindavan, he heard of the oppression caused by a local gang of professional dacoits by the name Kanjars. By great efforts, he stopped their atrocities. At one time, there was 13 Apasampradayas which had sprung up and were flourishing. Aul Baul Kartabhaja, Neda Daravesh, Sai Sahajya Sakibeki, Smarta Jati Gosai, Ativari Chudahari, Goranga Nagari, Tota Kohe E Tar Sanga Nahi Kori. Tota is saying, one should avoid associating with the 13 different classes of imitation devotees known as Aul, Baul, Kartabhaja, Neda, Daravesh, Sani, Sai, oh, it's Sai, not Sani, sorry. Sahajya, Sakibeki, Smarta, Jati Gosai, Ativari, Chudadhari, and Goranga Nagari. One pure Vaishnav named Totaram Babaji in Navadip started teaching, and all the schools of the local caste Goswamis began to lose business. All their pupils left them and took shelter of this Totaram Babaji. He had filed court cases against these Sahajya Sampradayas, accusing that they indulge in sinful activities. At that time, many went to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, pleading to request Totaram Babaji to withdraw his court case against them. We are Vaishnavas, and he is also a Vaishnav, so what is the benefit of fighting amongst ourselves? At that time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura replied, Babaji Maharaj is so merciful that even by filing a court case against you, he is bestowing his mercy. By doing so, he will create only auspiciousness for you and make you leave the wrong ways and conceptions. Historical work as superintendent of Jagannath Temple. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura stayed in Jagannath Puri for 5 years. When he was appointed superintendent of the temple, he introduced a new system to streamline all the sevas. Roles, services, and all other details were clearly defined, recorded, and systematically documented. Who would be responsible for what kind of seva, when that particular seva would be performed, and how it would be performed. This was initially opposed by the Pandas, the local pujaris, but Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura persisted, and a new system was introduced. No one could haphazardly perform any seva in the temple of Lord Jagannath out of their individual whims and fancies anymore. Deep study of the scriptures. Śrīla Bhakti, that's really neat to see, that's his signature. Kedarnath Datta Bhakti Vinod, 16 February, must be 1890. What is that? I can't read that last one. 96. No, 6 is the other way. Anyways. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura deeply studied the works of Śrīla Baladev Vijayabhushan, Govinda Bhashya, his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, Siddhanta Ratna, and Prameya Ratnavali, as well as the Shat-sandarbhas of Śrīla Jiva Goswami and Śrīla Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. By his own precept, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura showed that it is extremely essential to deeply study these scriptures and to imbibe their teachings, which are imbued with pure devotion, especially for those who do not know the ultimate good, Shreyas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned the 5 most potent forms of devotion, Pancha Anga Bhakti: Sadhu Sangha, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, Shri Murtira, Shraddhaya Sevan. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:128. One should associate with devotees, chant the holy name of the Lord, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, reside in Mathura, and worship the deity with faith and veneration. Among all these, Śrīla Jiva Goswami declared hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as the topmost, and that is why among various scriptures, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura gave more emphasis on the study and discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. In Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had formed a Vaishnava association named Bhagavat Sangsad. Inside the temple of Jagannath, there was a Mukti Mandap, but at the place of the lotus feet imprints of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura established Bhakti Mandap. When Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura would speak on the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam at Bhakti Mandap, Great Vaishnava personalities and contemporaries who were also scholars like Nityananda, Paramananda, Mahanta Narayan Das, and Uttar Parshva Mahanta Harihar Das would come to hear. I love how he gives all these names of all these people that we... Just as Srimad Mahaprabhu set the ideal of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the lotus lips of Sri Gadadhar Pandit at Tota Gopinath, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Gopinath Pandit. One Raghunath Das Babaji Pandit of Hatiakta once opposed Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura while he was speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, and later he was inflicted with a disease. Only on being directed in a dream by Lord Jagannath to beg forgiveness from Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura did he get relief from his distressful condition. Always accompanied by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. When Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was only 10 months old, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was transferred to Ranaghat. He traveled to this family on a palanquin from Puri to Ranaghat. Later, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura went on a pilgrimage to all the tirthas and returned to Hajipur and Patna. There he learned the Urdu and Persian languages. He also established schools for local education in Orissa, and thus the locals were very indebted to him. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura would discuss on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in a place called Talta Bhagan. At that time, Śrīla Prabhupada was just a young boy, and he would carry Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on his head and accompany him. At that assembly were many great kirtaniyas. Many great kirtaniyas would sing very nicely, and everyone would become intoxicated by those kirtans. In one of the kirtans, they were singing Bhuvana Mohini Radha. Hearing this, Śrīla Prabhupada said to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, "O Prabhu, this kirtan is opposed to Siddhanta. How can it be said Bhuvana Mohini Radha? It should be Bhuvana Mohana Krishna, Tahara Mohini Radha. Bhuvana Mohan is Sri Krishna, one who enchants the whole world, and one who enchants Sri Krishna is Srimati Radharani. How can she be addressed as Bhuvana Mohini?" In this way, right from a young age, Śrīla Prabhupada exhibited how he was fixed in proper Siddhanta. Oh, whoa, I don't think I've seen this picture before. Is that Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a child? I mean, he has the glasses. There's Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. When Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura would go to meet Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja, Śrīla Prabhupada would also accompany him. One day, Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja said, "You are a judge by profession, so please give me an apt punishment. I have committed a great offense. I have engaged some of my followers who had come to do Hari Bhajan in maintaining the garden of the Lord." Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura replied, "Just as they are maintaining the garden of the Lord here, they will also have to maintain the garden of the Lord in Goloka Vrindavan. Will anyone understand such interactions? What does it mean? Under any circumstance, the servant will only serve. Hrishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate. That in itself is bhakti. Otherwise, how will the senses be engaged in the service of the master of the senses, the Indriya Pati, Hrishikesh?" Then Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura addressed those followers of Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja, saying, "Go to Jagannath Puri and sustain yourself on Madhukari by begging alms, and always remember the precept of Chota Haridas. Only then auspiciousness will be bestowed upon you." Hearing this, one of the servants followed Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's instructions, and he continued to progress in bhakti. The other one who did not go later became a sahajya, accepted one female consort as a servant, sustained himself by begging alms. When Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura would speak on Srimad Bhagavatam in Godrumadweep, Śrīla Gaurkishora Das Babaji Mahārāja would also come to hear from him. Śrīla Babaji Mahārāja couldn't speak or associate with anyone, but when he would come to Godrumadweep to but he would come to Godrumadweep to hear Bhagavatam. It was at that time that Śrīla Prabhupada first took darshan of him. Sometimes Śrīla Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj would also join him. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had given Śrīla Prabhupada Harinam and chanting beads as the Nrsinga mantra with which he would worship Nrsingadev. On Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's order, Śrīla Prabhupada accepted Diksha from Śrīla Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj. The Maharaja of Tripura was seen to hear the discourses of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and he earnestly beseeched him to come to Tripura and speak the glories of the Lord. Śrīla Prabhupada had accompanied Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura at that time and had made a mere mental note of the king's library. Later, he went there for 3 years to teach the king's son Dharma and Niti Shiksha. While there, he read many Vaishnava scriptures from that library. Śrīla Prabhupada would say, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is the Bhagirata of Kali Yuga. Just as Bhagirata brought the Ganga to this world, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura manifested the current of pure bhakti in this world. All those who are aspiring for pure devotion are indebted to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Visit to Svargaloka and internal consciousness. Once while on duty, he was at the Amala Joda station. Once while on duty, when he was at the Amala Joda station, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura fell unconscious on a platform bench. The station master and other officers present, recognizing him to be a prominent government officer, asked if they could arrange for a doctor. However, Śrīla Prabhupada, perceiving the fact of the matter, denied the proposal. After some time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura returns to external consciousness. While he was externally unconscious, he had been to Svargaloka to help reconcile one of the verses of Bhagavad Gita, which had been put by the demigods in a quandary. And then there's an endnote about this. After providing them the understanding, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura returned to external consciousness. In honor of this event, later, at the same place, Amla Joda, Śrīla Prabhupada established Amla Joda Prapanashram. Wow, that's really cool. Let's see how long the endnote is. Because yeah, Śrīla Gosvāmī Mahārāja gives a very detailed description of that pastime. If it's that description, then yeah. Yeah, this is too long. Actually, no, it's not that long. I think in Raise of the Harmonist, we mixed two discussions that he spoke on. He told us twice, one time with more detail. Okay, so this is from Subjective Evolution, the play of by Śrīla Bhakti Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Chapter 10. Once Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had a dream in which he was wandering in the sky chanting the holy name. He came upon the court of Yamaraj, where Yamaraj himself was sitting with Brahma, Narad, and others discussing a point from a verse in Bhagavad Gita 9:30. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak, sadur eva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. The generally accepted meaning of this verse is, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is ananya bhak, a one-pointed devotee who worships me, who worships me alone in devotional service, which is free from karma and gyan, he is to be considered saintly because his endeavors are completely on my behalf and his determination is fixed. Here, Krishna says, whatever he has done, if he is exclusively given to myself, he should be considered as my devotee. Samyak vyavasito hisa. And whatever he is doing is 100% right. But then the next passage says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Very soon he will be a man of righteousness. He will become dharmatma, dutiful. As Yamaraj, Brahma, and Narad discussed this point, a question came up. Krishna says, Bhajate mam ananya bhak, one who is my exclusive devotee. The question arises, what is exclusive devotion or ananya bhajan? Krishna says, give up all other religious conceptions and surrender to me alone. Sarva dharma parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. That is exclusive devotion. But if one is practicing exclusive devotion, then he is already dharmatma. He is already righteous. How is it then that at the very next verse, Krishna says soon he becomes dharmatma? How are we to adjust this? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9:31, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. Soon he becomes righteous, dharmatma, and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. This is the gist of this verse. Krishna tells Arjuna, he soon becomes dharmatma. My devotee is never ruined. Go and declare this to the public. Krishna says that after the devotee became ananyabhak, that is, he gave up all sorts of duties and surrendered to Krishna, then again, he is a dutiful man. As Brahma, Narad, and Yamaraj discussed this point, they saw Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura walking in the sky and taking the holy name. Then one of them suggested, there is a pure devotee. He should be able to give the real meaning. Then Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was invited in their midst and was asked, how shall we adjust these points? Krishna has said that this person is an exclusive devotee, that he has renounced all sorts of duties and surrendered to Krishna. And yet, in no time, it will be seen that he is very dutiful. How can we understand this? Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura explains that he quickly becomes righteous. He explained that these words, he quickly becomes righteous, refers not to the exclusive devotee, but to one who considers the exclusive devotee pure in all circumstances. Interesting. Even if he performs some abominable act, he is really a sadhu, a saint. One who can think of an exclusive devotee in that way will soon become a dharmatma. This was Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's explanation. Okay, so it's not referring to the exclusive devotee, it's referring to one who considers the exclusive devotee to be pure in all circumstances. That person becomes dharmatma. After providing, who is it? It was Brahma. There was Yamaraj, Brahma, and Narad. Was it, or is it Shiva? Anyways, I have such a bad memory. I just read it and I forgot already. Anyways, after providing them the understanding of the verse, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura returns to external consciousness. In honor of this event, later in the same place, Amla Joda, Śrīla Prabhupada established Amla Joda Prapanashram. Lord Shiva's instructions to stay in Navadvip. When Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur expressed the desire to perform bhajan near the place of Śrīla Haridas Thakur's samadhi in Jagannath Puri, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura established Bhakti Kutir, now opposite Purushottam Gaudiya Math near Satahsan Road, near Śrīla Haridas Thakur's samadhi. In Radhakund, he established Vraja Swananda Sukara Kunj with an intention to eventually come to Radhakund, settle there and perform bhajan after resigning from his official government duties. Later, he went to the great Vaishnav Shiva at Tarakeshwar to beg permission to go to Radhakund. At that time, Lord Shiva said to him, you will leave the place of your Prabhu and go? Then who will spread the glories of that place to the whole world? At that time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura resolved to stay in Mahaprabhu's Navadvip Dham, and eventually, in 1899, he built Swananda Sukara Kunj in Godrumadvip. The Gandharvas did what I had to. Interesting. At one stage, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was staying in Kolkata and had a desire to move to Mayapur, but his sons would not let him. Śrīla Prabhupada had come to take Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura to Mayapur, but when his brothers refused, he left and was going to Mayapur. When Śrīla Prabhupada was at Shelda station, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura manifested a sickness pastime. Worried about their father's desire remaining unfulfilled if any untoward event took place, the sons changed their mind immediately and gave their permission. They knew well that their father was completely transcendental. At that time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura said, Gandharvas did what I had to do. He was referring to what Bhimasen had spoken in Mahabharata when in Kamyavan, the Gandharvas abducted the wives of Duryodhana and were fleeing away. At that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj had told Bhima, "Go and stop them at once." Bhimasen replied, "O Yudhishthira Maharaj, what we are planning to do by engaging in warfare has already been done by these Gandharvas. What they have done is good." Yudhishthira Maharaj said, "If any outsider attacks, then we are 105. At that time, Arjuna went and rescued the wives of Duryodhana from the hands of the Gandharvas. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura uttered the same verse. Gandharvas did the job. His sons became scared by his illness and permitted him to proceed to Navadvip. Extolling the glories of the Dham. In 1910, a gentleman went for Dham Darshan with a return ticket. He bought a watermelon and offered it to Śrīla Gaura-Kiṣōra Babaji Maharaj, who usually would not accept anything given by anyone. However, he accepted that watermelon. When Śrīla Babaji Maharaj inquired his reason behind visiting the Dham, he replied, "I have come to the Dham for darshan, and I also have my return ticket, so I will go back after some days." Śrīla Babaji Maharaj replied, I haven't heard of anyone coming to the Dham and returning. Will anyone be able to read in between the lines and understand the import what Śrīla Babaji Maharaj said? In Bhagavad Gita, we have heard this shloka 100 times. Natad bhasayate shuryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Bhagavad Gita 15:6. That abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by electricity. One who reaches it never returns to this material world. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Despite hearing the shloka so many times, did we ever think of the shloka in this way? We only read, but we do not follow. We don't imbibe the teachings or moods of the shlokas. This is our position. That person who was visiting the Dham became completely astonished, and by the inspiration of Śrīla Babaji Maharaj, accepted Diksha from Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. By accepting Diksha in the true sense, one becomes a real Dhambasi. After that, wherever one goes, he carries the Dham with him. One carries the Dham within his heart. The Dham then becomes the center of one's existence. Though an individual may have to travel for his work and visit many places, while he is away, he is completely aware that his home is somewhere else. Where his home is, that is the center of his existence. Ultimately, all the love and affection will only be directed to his wife, children, and home. Despite spending a large amount of time with his colleagues, who he works with for 8 to 9 hours a day, will he ever cultivate such affection for his colleagues? The same is true for the Dham. As a real relationship with the Dham becomes established, all our love and affection goes there. When Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was asked to speak about the glories of the Dham, he spoke that from this very Dham, all preaching will expand all over the world. This prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's is in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. It is said, "Prithivite ache jato nagaradigram sarvatra prachara hoive mor nam." In every town and village, the chanting of my name will be heard. There is some connection with regards to this prophecy. In 1896, which is the appearance year of Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In 1896, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura sent an English book he had authored titled "The Life and Precepts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu" to many universities abroad. Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, who preached the Krishna Bhakti cult all over the world, was also born in that same year. When the followers of Śrīla Swami Mahārāja discovered the original book sent by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura in a library in England, they took it because it had some significance that this book was sent the same year as their Guru Maharaj was born. They later gave another edition of the same book to the library. However, they retained the original book, which was sent by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Oh, really? I didn't even know this one has the original book. This is the room from where Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura saw the beam of light at Yogapit. One night, when Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was staying in his Godrum house in Swananda Sukara Kunj, he saw a great effulgence, like a thick beam of light emanating from the direction of Yogapit. In the morning, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura went across to inquire if there had been any wedding ceremony or any other occasion celebrated, but the locals confirmed that no such event had occurred. They said, "One ghost resides here, so no one can wander around this place." They also confirmed that nothing but tulsi grew there, and thus they were unable to use that land for farming. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura wondered, then how did I see so much effulgence coming from this place? After this incident, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura went and met with Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, who was at a very advanced age and used to be carried around in a basket. Bihari Das, his personal servant, would carry him around everywhere, even from Navadvip to Vrindavan and back. Previously, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had also taken Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj to his residence in Kolkata and served him very nicely. His servant Bihari Das had commented that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura knew what it took to serve a Vaishnava and how to serve the Vaishnavas in reality. When Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was taken to the current site of the birthplace of Sriman Mahaprabhu, the Yogapit, although he was of ripe old age, not able to walk, he jumped up and began to dance ecstatically. When asked why he was doing this, he said, "Can't you see? This is the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. All these devotees are also dancing here. I am joining them in Sankirtan." No one else could see. It is said, "Yadyapi she lila kore gorai, kono kono bhagyavan deki bare pai." Some fortunate souls are able to see the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya that he is still manifesting in the Dham to this very day. When they proceeded a little further from the birth site, and Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ordered that that place be excavated with the tools that are used to discard excess water from the boat. Wait, sorry. Okay, interesting. He ordered that place to be excavated with the tools that are used to discard excess water from the boat. While excavating, a piece of the mridanga, which the Qazi had broken, was discovered. He confirmed that this was Shivas Angan, the Sankirtan Rasastali. Then Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura said, "Now that you have ascertained this place, where is the praman, the evidence?" To which Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj responded, "To gather praman is your duty." Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura found 10 ancient maps from the British government and ascertains the birthplace of and Shivas Angan, as confirmed by Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Later, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura established the Vaishnav Raj Sabha there. On Gaur Purnima, Sriman Mahaprabhu's Avirbhav Tithi, the Vishwa Vaishnav Raj Sabha was inaugurated, and the Maharaj of Tripura was appointed as the chairperson of that assembly. Rajarshi Sarbindu Narayan Rai of Tenachpur, a professor of Darshan Shastra of the philosophical scriptures at Lahore Global University, was appointed as the secretary. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was also instrumental in establishing a temple of Lord Nrsimhadev. It was he who installed Gaur Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya, Panchatattva, and Radha Madhav at the Yogapit temple. Later, the Gaudiya Math began serving in that place, but it originally was established by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Extraordinary literary contribution. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura wrote over 100 books in many languages such as Oriya, Bengali, English, and Sanskrit. He has written one book in Urdu entitled Balid-e-Registry. When Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was in Bhadrak, He wrote one book in English titled Mats of Orissa. How many mats are there in Orissa? He made a list of them, and overall, there were 752 mats. Despite his duties and other commitments, he wrote many books. Wow, 752, that's a lot. The original pioneer of the Gaudiya Math. Though the illustrious son of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, founded the Gaudiya Math with its 64 branches all over India and abroad, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura can be designated as the original pioneer. He is the original pioneer and founder of the Gaudiya Math. All the kirtans sung from dawn to dusk across all of the Gaudiya Maths are compositions of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Mangal Arti, Bhog Arti, Sandhya Arti, among other kirtans. Even the glories of Mahaprasadam that are sung before honoring Mahaprasad are composed by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. His every composition is purely based on the scriptures. Hence, my Param Gurudev, Śrīla Prabhupada, would not allow any kirtans other than those of Śrīla Narottam Das Thakur and Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura to be sung. He would say that every essential teaching is a part of these kirtans. They are not whimsically composed. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura wrote kirtans dedicated to each of the verses of Śrī Manashiksha, Śrī Upadeshamrita, Śrī Shikshashtakam, and Śrī Namashtakam by expanding on their meaning. This style of composition is called Padyanuvad. Deep meaning of simple kirtans. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura gave out all the essential teachings through his kirtans. In one of his kirtans, O He Vaishnav Thakur, it is said, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomar shakati ache. Amito Kangal, Krishna Krishna bole, Dhai tava pache pache. Krishna is yours, so you have the power to give Krishna. I am only a beggar running behind you, calling out, Krishna, Krishna. This kirtan is based on Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhishma was wounded and lying on the bed of arrows for 52 days. Seeing him in this state greatly pained Maharaj Yudhishthira, who thought himself to be the cause for Bhishma's condition. Had he not incited it, the great war of Mahabharata would not have taken place, and grandsire Bhishma would not have had to suffer in this way. When the young Pandavas lost their father, it was Bhishma who had cared for them and brought them up. Now to put that same personality through such suffering just for the sake of regaining a kingdom served as a great source of sorrow for Yudhishthira. After the war of Kurukshetra was over, all those who had sacrificed their lives on the battlefield were cremated, and at the end, Sri Krishna begged permission from all the 5 Pandavas to return to Dwarka. All of them individually agreed. However, when Sri Krishna approached Kunti Devi begging for her permission, she began to cry. Seeing her crying, Sri Krishna said, Now there is no enemy of yours. Shall I take leave? Queen Kunti replied, The enemy is on all 4 sides. Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribhir, Janmaishwarya Shruti Shribhir. So here's the full verse. Janmaishwarya Shruti Shribhir Edhamana Madha Puman Naivar Hatta Bhibdhatum Vai Tam Akinchana Gocharam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:8-26. My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. Saying this, she began to cry again, so Sri Krishna decided to stay on a few more days. Later, he said to the Pandavas, Shall we go and pay our homage to Bhishma Pitamaha, grandfather Bhishma? Upon hearing these words, everyone got ready. When they reached the site where Bhishma Pitamaha was lying on the bed of arrows, Maharaj Yudhishthira started wailing like an infant, and while holding Bhishma's feet, he said, There's no bigger Pakhandi than I. I am the very cause of your suffering. Pakhandi means pretender or impostor. Shri Krishna said to Bhishma Pitamaha, Maharaj Yudhisthira is just like a child, so you please bestow some noble instructions onto the Pandavas and all those who have assembled here. Bhishma Pitamaha replied, where you, the very personification of Dharma, are present, what instructions can I give? I am just an insignificant personality in comparison to you. Then Shri Krishna said, since he feels that he is the cause of your suffering, he will only listen from you. Bhishma Pitamaha began his address. O Yudhishthira Maharaj, your belief that you are the cause behind my pain is wrong. No one has any independence to cause anyone pain or happiness. One's own activities become the cause of happiness or distress. He then gave many instructions and teachings to Maharaj Yudhishthira and everyone present there. To Arjuna, Bhishma Dev said, you can give Shri Krishna to me. At the end of my life, please give Shri Krishna to me. To Yudhishthira, he gave instructions, and to Arjuna, he begged for mercy. From an external consideration, who had put Bhishma Dev in such a state? It was none other than Arjuna. From that time, Arjuna, Bhishma Dev was begging for mercy, considering him his spiritual master. That sentence doesn't make sense. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I get the point. Sorry. From that time, Bhishma Dev was begging for mercy from Arjuna, considering him as spiritual master. Shri Krishna is your Saka. You can give Shri Krishna to me. Please give Krishna to me. Please give Krishna to me at the moment of my death. Based on this episode from the Mahabharata, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura penned, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomar shakati ache. Ami to kangal, Krishna, Krishna boli, dhai tava pache pache. Sharanagati. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura presented all the scriptural conclusions in a very simple and straightforward manner, in the form of beautifully composed songs. In his first kirtan of Sharanagati, he mentions whose prayers are heard by the Lord. That very Lord who comes to this world to bestow the very rare gift of prema onto the unfortunate conditioned souls, gave the teaching of Sharanagati. That Sharanagati, that surrender, is the life air of a devotee. Shikaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Pran. Atyanta Dulabha Prema Koribare Dana Shikaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana Dainayatma Nivedana Goptrite Varana Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palana O Bhakti Anu Kula Matra Karyera Shrikara O Bhakti Prati Kula Bhava Varjanangikara O Sharanga Sharanagati Hoi Bejahar Tahara Prarthana Shune Shinanda Kumara. In order to bestow the extremely rare treasure of Prem Bhakti, Mahaprabhu taught Sharanagati, which is the life and soul of the devotees. Humility, submission of the self, acceptance of the Lord as one's only maintainer, faith in Krishna's protection, acceptance of acts favorable for bhakti, and rejection of that which is unfavorable. Whoever embodies each of these six facets of Sharanagati has their prayers heard by the son of Nanda Maharaj. The Lord only hears the prayers of those who are surrendered. That is why when Prahlad Maharaj said, "Yes, my Lord exists even in this pillar," the Lord manifested as Nrsimhadev from the pillar. Hiranyakashipu, with a club in his hand, started roaring around. He started roaring, looking for that personality, proclaiming, "I will finish him the moment I see him." But Hiranyakashipu could not see him. All the demigods were watching from above. All the demigods who were watching from above were very anxious out of fear of Hiranyakashipu. We see here that the Lord did not hear the prayers of the demigods. But when a surrendered devotee, Prahlad, said, "My Lord exists everywhere, including this pillar," then Nrsimhadev appeared out of that pillar to keep the word of his devotee. That is why if one has a desire to achieve this most rare Krishna prema, then he has no choice but to surrender. The words of the scriptures and those of the previous acharyas like Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī were captured in a very simple and straightforward manner in the first song of Sharanagati by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Who is superior, the Brahman or Vaishnava? In 1911, 3 years before his departure, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was invited to speak at a spiritual assembly at Medinipur, where the topic of the discussion was, who is superior, the Brahman or Vaishnava? At that time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was already 73 years old and unwell. Thinking that an opportunity had presented itself to serve Sriman Mahaprabhu, which he was unable to fulfill, his eyes brimmed with tears out of the sentiment of dinata, lowliness. He was wondering who he could send to represent him. At that time, Śrīla Prabhupada approached him, requesting, "If you order, this insignificant servant of yours could go and address the assembly." Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura agreed and sent him along with one Brahman. Śrīla Prabhupada journeyed on foot to Medinipur. He stayed overnight in a village and continued his journey, reaching his destination the next day. He immediately met with the organizers and conveyed his desire to speak. At that time, Śrīla Prabhupada was very young and had a beautiful face. His name was noted as one of the speakers. The chairman of that assembly was Vishvambara Dev Goswami, who was also the chief of Gopi Vallabhpur Shripad. Is that Srinivasacharya's place? Or Shamananda Road? I always get it mixed up. Anyways, I think Srinivasacharya. Many other respectable personalities like Madhusudan Goswami Sarvabhauma of Radharaman, Khera, and Vrindavan were also assembled there. When his turn came, Śrīla Prabhupada started speaking, extolling the glories of the Brahmins. He glorified the position of a Brahmin in great detail, and later he asked all the Brahmins present in the assembly, "Does anyone have comments to make on what I have spoken on the position of a Brahmin?" Everyone in the assembly accepted very easily, saying, "We are completely satisfied with what you have spoken, and we have nothing more to say." Next, Śrīla Prabhupada went on to extol the glories of the Vaishnavas and established how a Vaishnava is superior to a Brahman. At that time, many in the audience were agitated, but one of the Goswamis said, "I have read all scriptures, and what he is speaking is conclusive." Śrīla Prabhupada's impact was so heavy that everyone became anxious to offer him obeisances and touch his lotus feet after his speech. They even wanted to bathe his feet, and when Śrīla Prabhupada denied, they placed his feet in a drum, bathed them by force, and took the Charnamrita. Later, a book titled Brahman and Vaishnava was released based on Śrīla Prabhupada's speech in that assembly. The Lord always fulfills the desires of his pure devotee. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is a pure devotee of the Lord, and that is why Śrīla Prabhupada was inspired to ask Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's permission to address the assembly. Disappearance pastime. On 23 June 1914, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura manifested his disappearance pastime. He entered the eternal pastimes of the Lord. He appeared in September and disappeared in June. He had appeared in the Nadia district and had left his body in Bhakti Bhavan, Kolkata. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's samadhi is there in Godrum. All those who have been to Godrum have taken darshan of his samadhi. Since he discovered the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and illuminated the glories of Navadip Dham, there is a temple near Yogapit with his deity to commemorate him. Today is his Avirbhav Tithi, and on this day we beg for his mercy and compassion that we are able to follow and imbibe his teachings, and in this way achieve the perfection of this human form of life. Sorry, I was just trying to hear what kirtan they're doing in the temple. Oh, this song's so beautiful. Shall we sing this song? He's singing Shri Radha Krishna Parakamale Mana. Kemone Logi Becharama Sharana. I'm going to sing it. I wanted to sing it today and I didn't get a chance. Okay, I'm going to just put up the words really quick. Let's see. Oh, I already have it open. That's great. Shri Radha Krishna Pad. Dang it. Chiradina. Wait, not Dina with a long I. Okay. One second, let me make the text big. Okay. Oops. One second, let me just fix this up a little bit. Okay, it's all good. Perfect. Okay. Shall I read the translation first? See what happened. I'll read the translation first. O mind, how will you ultimately take shelter at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Krishna? Having had the desire to take shelter of those lotus feet since time immemorial, this servant is simply waiting. Sorry. O Radhe, O Krishna Chandra, life and soul of the devotees, please bestow upon this most sinful person bhakti to both of you. Please do not neglect me, saying that I am devoid of bhakti. Instead, give this ignorant person your auspicious instructions and spiritual knowledge. Please give this servant, who is afflicted by the thirst for material enjoyment, the qualification to serve in your amorous pastimes. This restless current of life flows, running into the ocean of time, into death. The days that have gone will not come again. Alas, Krishna, what am I to do now? You are the friends of the fallen. I know who you are, O my masters. You are indeed the very ocean of kindness. I am unfortunate and exceedingly foolish. I do not understand even an iota of bhakti. O my masters, by virtue of your greatness, take my soul and make me your own, thereby vanquishing my material sufferings. Give me a perfected spiritual body within the transcendental abode of Vrindavan, and bestow upon me in charity the nectar of the nectar of service to you, making me drink prem and thus become spiritually intoxicated. Hear me sing your glories. Please engage me in service to you in the arena of the ras dance. This unworthy maidservant of Sri Lalita, this worthy maidservant of Sri Lalita Saki, Bhaktivinoda, beseeches you by clasping your lotus feet. One second, let me get the madanga. One second, just need to drink some water. Hai Shri Radha Krishna Parakamale Mana Ke Monilo Vive Charama Sharana Hai Shri Radha Krishna Parakamale Mana Ke Monilo Vive Charama Sharana Achiradina Koriya Oyo Charana Asha Chiradina Koriya O Charana Asha Ache Bosiya Adhama Dasa Oyache Bosiya Adhama Dasa He Radhe He Krishna Chandra Bhakata Prana He Radhe He Krishna Chandra Bhakata Prana Opamare Jokada Bhakti Korodana Opamare Jokada Bhakti Korodana Bhakti Hina Boli O na karayo peksha Bhakti Hina Boli na karayo peksha Amor ka jane dekho jnana sushiksha Amor ka jane dekho jnana sushiksha Vishayapi pasa Prapidita dase Vishayapi pasa deho yadi kara jugala vilase chanchala jivana srota pravahiya chanchala jivana srota pravahiya okale rasa kare dhai kale rasa kare dhai gela je divasa naya sive aro gelo je divasa naya sive aro ebe Krishna kiyo ebe Krishna kiyo oh tumi patita jane pandu tumi patita jane pandu जाने है तो मारे नाम तुम्ही तो करुणा सिंधु जाने है तुम्हारे नाम तुम्ही तो करुणा जल सिंधु श्री राधा कृष्ण Shri Radha Krishna Parakama Leman Kemane Lohi Vicharama Sharana Ami Bhagyahina Ati Arvarina Ami Bhagyahina Ati Arvachina Na jani bhakti lesha Na jani bhakti lesha Nija gune nata Korayatma sata Nija gune nata Korayatma sata Gochaya bhava Kresha Gochaya bhava Kresha Siddha dehatiya Vrindavana maje Siddha dehatiya Vrindavana maje Sevamrita karo dana Sevamrita karo dana mata kori more piya iya prema mata kori more shuno nija guna gana shuno nija guna gana yugala sevaya Śrīla mandale yugala sevaya Śrīla mandale niyukta koroya niyukta koroya lalita sakira ayogya kinkare lalita sakira ayogya kinkare Vinoradhoriche Vinoradhoriche Shri Radha Krishna Parakamale Lo vive charamashara Shri Radha Krishna Parakamale Kemane lo vive charamashara Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Saccidānanda Gora Hari, Saccidānanda Jaya Gora Hari, Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Jaya Bhakti Vinoda Ṭhākura, Bhakti Vinoda Ṭhākura, Bhakti Vinod, Jaya Bhakti Vinoda Ṭhākura, Bhakti Vinod, Jaya Guru, Jaya Bhakti Vijñāna Śrīla Bhakti Gosvāmī, Bhakti Vijñāna Śrīla Bhakti Gosvāmī, Jaya Bhakti Vijñāna Śrīla Bhakti Gosvāmī, Bhakti Vijñāna Śrīla Bhakti Gosvāmī, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Hari Bol, 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 Nitai Gaur Hari, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudeva ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Swāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gokishora Bhavaji Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Śrīla Saccidānanda Saptam Goswami Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Pasai Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaurada Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri. Oh, for those of you in the West, it's Haridas Thakur's appearance day right now, right? So Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Tirobha Titi ki jai. And for those of you in the West, Vishwarup Mahotsav ki jai, right? Anyways, Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Mandal Brajamandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radha Kona Shama Kun ki jai, Shri Muna Devi Gamma Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Masi Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopishwar Mahadev ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bharati Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Tirobha Titi ki jai, Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pravataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Maha Dandavat Pranams. dear devotees, thank you for joining me in reading this beautiful glorification of Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. So see you all tomorrow. Oh, let's see if I have a picture here. Doing a kirtan, a special kirtan class with my. Let me see. Did I download it? I'm just seeing if I can put up the image of it so that you can see. Anyways, we're gonna do 5 classes. Shoot, where is it? Anyhow, we're gonna do. I'm just gonna find it in my email. Classes about on the topic of kirtan and many different things like what is kirtan, what is the you know what are some words of our acharyas on the method and the mood that we perform kirtan in, and just practical things like how to make like a kirtan habit, how to make it part of your, add more kirtan to your life, make it a habit that actually sticks, like something that you do naturally every day without and anyways, all different topics like that. And also we're going to be going over Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's kirtans. I think we're going to be going over Yashamati Nandana. And anyways, yeah, so that's going to be I think it's Tuesday. One second. Just wait one second. I'm just finding it right now. She sent it to me and maybe she sent it to me on WhatsApp. Okay, one second. I'm just pulling it up and then you can see. So many messages, my God. One second. My God, my computer's going really slow. There it is. It's loading. Loading. Come on, load faster. Anyways, I'll try loading it here then. Let me share my screen so you can see. There it is. I'll download this. It's one thing. Sorry, I should have mentioned this. It's for the Chinese Sangha. So if you want to join, you'll have to be patient and wait for the translation. So it is at 7 p.m. In Beijing, noon in London, and 7 a.m. in New York. What time is that here for me in India? I'm so not together. Anyways, I'll figure that out. I think it's 4:30 for me in India, if I remember, 4:30 p.m. But yeah, that's it. 5-week kirtan class. So it's Tuesdays on Zoom, starting September 21st. What day is it today? 19 September. All right. Jai Shri Radhe. Hi, I'm going to stop the video now. Jai Shri Radhe. Haribol.